Hi everyone, welcome to this week's online lecture. I wanted to pick up with a thought that I gave you last week. I've been talking about two terms. Soteriology, the idea of salvation when it comes to the end of life or salvation from this life. And then I also brought up the term thanatology, which is really just an examination of death, which includes mourning and which includes grieving, rituals regarding cemetery, funereal processes. But there's a third term I wanted to introduce to our conversation, and that's eschatology. E-S-C-H-A-T-O-L-O-G-Y. I wrote it down just so I could get the spelling right. Eschatology. Eschatology is a little bit different. And I distinguished soteriology from thanatology. You don't have to involve death to talk about salvation, nor do you have to talk about salvation when talking about death. But if we are going to discuss those things, I wanted to have those terms clear. Now I introduce a new term, eschatology, from the Greek, I believe, eskatos, meaning last, or last things, the final thing, the eschaton. And this is a discussion of how existence ends, the end of all things, and you could liken it to the death of all things. In certain religious contexts, we will have eschatological thought closely mixed with thanatological thought. People mourn for someone who has died, but look forward to his or her potential resurrection when it comes to the eschaton. Now that's not true for all religions, of course, but I wanted us to now have a new sensitivity and a piece of terminology we can use in discussing whether a religion's soteriology is mixed with its thanatology and whether eschatology is mixed with its thanatology. So we can think about Christian revelation. We can also talk about Islamic end of days, Yom al-Din. We can also talk about Jewish end of days. Can we speak of Hindu or even Buddhist end times? I think we can, but in a very different sense, not a big climactic ending with good fighting evil necessarily, but we could look at the illusion of reality dissipating in Hinduism or in Buddhism. So as we're examining these different things, I want us basically to think of these three terms as creating sort of a Venn diagram, each one of them potentially overlapping each other, soteriology, thanatology, eschatology, but not necessarily having to interact with each other, not being definitional for each other. So as you start to have discussion board postings, or if you think about next week's new, learned, and corrected, you can employ these terms yourself for discussing. You may have understood the salvation or soteriological part of a religion, but not really thought about its eschatological or end times, or what we might loosely call apocalyptic. Let me just note for the record that apocalypse doesn't actually mean end and ruin and discussion. It just means an unveiling, a revelation, a showing of a thing. But in Christianity, that shown thing was the end times for John. So that's how it's come into our modern English terminology as meaning post-apocalyptic, ultimate destruction. So those are the three terms I want you to be able to juggle. I also want to remind you that you have a chance to vote on the next Collaborate session on when it should happen. Even if you cannot attend the Collaborate session live, please make sure you get a chance to view and listen to and think through the recording within 48 hours of the session. Because if you send me a summary of the recording within 48 hours of the live session, I can give you credit for it. If you do not attend the live session and do not participate, nor send me any sort of summary showing that you understood and listened to and comprehended what we discussed, I can't give you any credit for it, and I really want to. So no one should feel penalized if they can't attend the live session once it's been voted on, but they should understand that it's their responsibility to still look through it and submit a summary. Last thing I want to say, if you are listening to this and have not submitted your first paper, you know that you're late, right? Well, I still want to get those papers. I want to be able to give you some credit for them. So get them finished and get them in. Remember the expression that perfect is the enemy of the good. Get in a good or decent paper rather than not turning in what you're working on being a perfect paper. If you've submitted everything, good for you. We're getting past the mid-semester point, the midterm point. I hope the class experience is working well for you. I know we had a terrific Collaborate session. It was great getting to talk with everyone, and I look forward to the remainder of our half semester together. Okay, folks, be in touch with me if you have any questions. Remember, soteriology, thanatology, eschatology. Ology. Bye.